Hey guys, what's going on? For those who do not know me, my name is Sarah. I am a single parent of one. She is 16 of age. I am a soon to be author. The title of that book is House of Many Souls. Super excited to release that book. It's going to be available this year. Yes, I am determined to get that book done this year. It's been taking me for quite some time, maybe decade, few years, to release this book. So God put it on my heart to release it this year. So that's the plan. I already have a publisher. I've been working with him for since last year. It's been that long. So I've been working with him since last year. Yeah, somewhere in last year. Been helping me getting the book done. Um, so I also do that. I'm also a mixed media illustrator and an owner of Royalty Artistic and a boutique owner as well. So I do a little bit of everything, and everything that I do, I just don't just randomly do it or just throw stuff together and put stuff together. Um, I enjoy doing what I do. The thing that I do is the thing that God puts on my heart to do. And those are part of my gift and talent that I enjoy doing, but not just doing, but also enjoy sharing with other people. Because in my art, I don't just do art, I also tend to encourage people in my art and share the gospel in my art as well. I love doing that. Love sharing the gospel. Love doing art. So everything that I do, I share the gospel in it when it comes to art, podcasts, yeah, anything that have to do with my purpose. I always find a way to share some type of motivation word or the gospel. Um, but yeah, so that's just a little bit what I do as of right now. And so this I keep saying I'm trying to not say so much. Um, but yeah, I just say again. I'm trying not to say that word as much, but to keep it down less as possible. So this voice video, wherever you want to call it, is all going to be about a little bit about my testimony, what I'm working on, and my plans to come. That's what it's all going to be about. I'm going to share a little bit about the podcast, where the podcast at, where I'm planning for the podcast to be at. And so, thank you so much for listening, and here we go. All right, so I'm going to share, not we, but I'm going to share a little bit of my testimony in the beginning of my stage when I began to have a very, very hard time in my life. And that started at the age, I can't remember what age I was, but I know I was in elementary. In that year of my elementary lifestyle, I had a very hard time with communicating, engaging with other students and getting along with people. And I noticed I was always alone a lot, like just being by myself a lot. And probably the only people that I'll always be with is my siblings, because I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters. But I'll always just by myself a lot or in my room a lot, and just constantly find myself getting in trouble, fighting with students and fighting with teachers. And it was just so much was going on at that time of my life, and I didn't understand why that was going on, why I act the way I used to act, and it just wasn't no solving communication in that time. I just go and continue to go as things flow. But one thing I do know, and one thing I do remember, and one thing I have learned as I began to grow my relationship with the Lord, now I'm like 33 now, but at the time that I didn't know, I mean knowing now, and me going back of sharing this with you, I have realized there's not realized. I want to say I went through. I want to say I went through physically, mentally, and physically, mentally, physically. I cannot talk. Oh my goodness. Physically, mentally, and emotional abuse with my mother. She still is alive, and I do like still talk to her. But I went through so much with her. Like it's feel like I couldn't stay home. Every time I would go through the things, every time I would go through the stage with her, I would always run away from home. And it felt like I was running away from home every single day. And that moment of that time when I would do that, I would always go somewhere, either out in the woods or just whatever I would go somewhere that I would feel safe. And I remember one time I ran away from home, me getting abused from my mother, and I don't think like my sibling know that what's going on. It seemed like it was kind of as a secret behind the scenes. It was like a lot of secrets, things going on in my home. And I remember one time I ran away from my home when at the time I was living with my parent. I remember my father was like right behind me, chasing me and trying to get me back in the house. And even though I felt like I wasn't safe there, but they wanted me to get back home. But I didn't want to be home because I know like if I go back home, this is gonna happen. Or if I stay home, I know this situation is gonna come to me. Um, and it was like a repeated cycle over and over and over. And I didn't understand why she abused me or do things to me that I know a parent shouldn't do, or I know that's not how you discipline a child, punching them or cutting their hair, or just finding ways to abuse them, to manipulate them, to tear them down to the core, to make them feel like they not nothing. Um, and God had shown me it's not about what she did to me; it's about what she'd been through. So the cycle and the repeated cycle that I went through with my mom, it was a repeated cycle that she went through with her parent, or the type of lifestyle she used to go through. Maybe she got abused throughout different relationships that she caused or allowed herself to be in. Maybe she saw that in her parent, so she used that and repeated the same cycle that she saw or that she allowed herself to be in, and she gave it to me. And I don't think she ever treat anyone like this in the house before, but me. So I repeated the cycle over and over, over and over. And one day again, I ran away from home due to me being physically, mentally, emotional abused so bad. I remember one time I had to end up going to the hospital because something was wrong with me. I think I was like bleeding out the nose. And once I got to the hospital, they said it was something else, my health issue, but I don't think it was that. It was something deeper than that. I had to get surgery and stuff like that. And it was just so much that I went through in that time. And I remember when I got abused again and I ran away from home. But this time, when I ran away from home, I came back and I noticed there was a cop at the door. I didn't understand why the cop was at the door or what was going on. I just know I found out they called the police and they told the police that I was very violent, out of control, and just keep running away from home, rebellious, and just was over the top, out of the top. But as they were sharing that story, they did not gave them the behind the scene of what actually was going on. It was like pushing something under the rug. It's like when you try to solve a problem, but you don't fully solve the problem, you just pretty much give someone what they want to hear, but not fully tell the story of what really happened. So they push the rest of the information under the rug and made it seem like that I was the problem in the home. So after that happened, the police put me in a car, and I was in a mental illness hospital. And as they were taking me in this hospital, I noticed that they put me in a straitjacket. I was in a panic room, and I'm not for sure how long I was there, but I know I was there quite some time. And they began to build up a case, and began to um, allow began to pretty much allow me to have a case where it comes to like when it comes to like a therapy and meds and stuff like that. So they began to build a case on me and to say that she have this problem, or she have to do this, or she have to take this. It was like more as a controlling instead of solving the problem. But that did not work. As I began to go through that process, and be on medicine, like it seemed like it got even more worse. Like it got worse at home. As it began to get worse at home, it got worse at school. So I began to be even more violent to the student at the school, and even more violent with the teacher. So they had to remove me. I'm not for sure like when I got removed out a normal school or when that took place. Like I still have a few like glints and gaps in certain areas at the time. But they removed me out of a class, and they put me in a bad behavior class, and that became to a learning disability class. And they said that I wasn't learning normal students, so they put me in a learning disability class. So, and then they slapped another band-aid on me to say that I have an IEP, and it was just band-aids after band-aids after band-aids after band-aids without solving any problem, without any critical thinking. And I want to pause right there and to just really give you some information and to help you, like if you are a parent or if you are listening to this, or maybe you're a student or a teacher or whoever you are that are listening to this voiceover. I want to put you in a place to help you to understand in a critical, I don't say critical, but critical, yeah, in a critical thinking way, and thinking also outside a box. So anytime this is have to do with anyone that's a parent, a teacher, yeah, and a student as well. Parent, teacher, and students. So anytime that so first I want to talk to the teacher first, because if the student is a student, that teacher have to deal with whoever that student is going through at home. So I'm going to talk to the teacher first. So if you are a teacher, if you are listening to this and you notice that you have a student, I know there's COVID and stuff going on, so there's not a lot of people that's actually taking classes face to face. But if you noticed before all the COVID and stuff had happened, and if you have noticed you had one particular student in the classroom, excuse me, and they're having a very hard time with engaging, or their behavior is very out of control, they're having a hard time listening, don't look at the student in a way of what they're going through. Don't look at the student on what they is acting on, how they are reacting in your classroom. Like you have to think outside of the box and do some critical thinking, and to really think about why is this child acting this certain way, and what causing this child to act like this in the classroom, or why this child is not engaging, why they're having a hard time to communicate with me, or why they're having a hard time to be still, or why they're having a hard time getting along with people, and the list go on and on and on. So in order for you to solve a problem, you cannot look at the student to make it seem like something is wrong with them. In order for you to solve the problem, you have to think outside of the box as a teacher. You have to think outside of the box to help the student and to figure out what actually going on behind the scene. So now I want to talk to the parent. So if you are a parent, single parent or married, either or, if you are a parent and maybe you are getting reports from the school and you constantly getting calls from the school and about your child, and they keep telling you they always get in fights, they start in trouble, I'm just really having a hard time with your child, and you have to think outside the box and do some critical thinking. So this is for the parent. So you have to say, what am I doing as a parent that causing my child to act like this? Is there an area that I need to actually sit down and talk with my child, he or she, to help me to understand and to help me to solve the problem of what's going on at school? Because anytime that a child is having a hard time at school, it's not about school, it's about what's going on behind the scene in the home. So the child biggest role model is the parent. So whatever that you are doing or saying or with that parent, I mean with the child, it gonna emit. I said it's not an it. They gonna emit. He or she is gonna emit on what you are doing. And I had learned that myself being a parent. My daughter, she is 16 now. The reason why I know this because I am a parent myself, and I had learned by sitting down and speaking with her and talking with her, and just really having that one-on-one communication with her, and just allowing her to speak and to have a voice, and to seeing what needs to be changed and how I am treating her as a parent. And she does see me as a role model. She does see me as she even told me herself, like, what I do, she does. Even though she never told me that before as a young age, like she pretty much do what I do. So being a parent, you have to be very careful what you are spilling out, what you are giving your child. Like anytime that you are giving your child something, sometimes you have to think, like, is this going to help my child or destroy my child? Is it going to elevate my child or damage my child? Is this going to help my child to be better or to be worse? So you have to do some critical thinking yourself as a parent yourself, and you have to figure out and do some critical thinking on yourself and to see what you need to change as a parent. What causing you to act a certain way? What causing you to yell and to scream and to abuse or manipulate or to even have so many relationships? Allowing your child, he or she, allowing them to see you with different guys and maybe doing inappropriate things in front of them or acting in a certain way or doing drugs in front of them. You have to figure out why are you allowing yourself to be in this situation to cause your child to emit on what you are doing. So you not only have to do critical thinking and thinking outside the box of your child, you also have to do some critical thinking outside the box with yourself as well. Okay, so we did a teacher, we did a parent, and now the student, the child. So the child is a student and the student is a child. So if your child is, I can say about 15, 16, 17, maybe close to 18. If they are responsible to make their own decision, give them the opportunity to speak, give them the opportunity to have a voice. Because if you are a person that always what go my way is the highway. How is your child are you gonna do some type of critical thinking to help them to figure out what needs to be fixed when it comes to them, or what needs to be fixed when it comes to you? Because if you don't give your child an opportunity to speak when it come on their behalf, how would it able how will they able to have the opportunity to speak? So you have to be the first one to give them the opportunity to speak and begin to ask them questions when it comes to you being a parent. So when you are having a conversation with your teenager, that have more responsibility of thinking outside the box, because teenager is very observant and they catch on to things very quickly, and even as a very young age as well. But being a teenager, it gives them the opportunity to shine some light on some area in the home as well. So when you are sitting down with your teenager, like begin to ask them a question, like as for me, for example, I'm just going to use it for example for me. Okay, so when I sit down and talk with my teenager, her name's Sherelle, she's 16, and I talk to her, and I begin to ask her a question like, what area do you see that is affecting you? How can I improve in this area? What can I do to help you? So those are three questions that I tend to ask my daughter when we are having one-on-one when we are having one-on-one conversation, and that can open up a communication with your child to let them know that they care. Pretty much you are giving them an opportunity to let them know that you care about them. So you're giving them an opportunity to speak as well. So when you do that, it's showing them that it's not just you have an opinion, you giving them an opportunity to have an opinion as well. So it comes both ways. So I think that's it. So that's part a little bit about solving problems, critical thinking when it comes to being a teenager and just being in high school, and a little bit about my testimony and the thing that I learned and had the thing that I learned and the thing that I am learning and the thing that I know. Me looking back as a child and me knowing now as a woman of God on how to solve problems when it comes to someone that's having a hard time in elementary all the way to high school. So now we're going to get to the point when it comes to the book, and the podcast. So for those that have been listening to the podcast, I want to thank you so much for your support. I am seeing some increase of people following the podcast. I'm very grateful and honest. I'm very grateful for that because I know when I first started the podcast, there wasn't not even one soul following the podcast. There was a lot of people listening, but not following. So I'm grateful for the 8 people actually following the podcast. So whoever you are, thank you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let me know. Send me an inbox. And if you have any requests for those that have been listening or following the podcast, feel free to let me know when it comes to relationship, being a parent, suicidal drugs. I'm all in, like identity, purpose, sharing more Bible verses on the podcast. Feel free to let me know your ideas and what you want to hear more on the podcast. So yeah, I got a little bit distracted. My plant is like dying over here. But yeah, so all right, back on track. All right, so we talk about a little bit of information about my testimony as a child and what I went through, how to solve a problem when it comes to being a parent, when it comes to being a teacher, a parent, and a child. And we talk about the podcast. And so now we're going to talk about the book. So I think I had talked about that in the beginning, but we're going to talk about not just the book, but the plan. My plan for this book, for those who not know, I'm writing a book. It's almost done. It's pretty much almost at the end of me being completely done. My plan is for this book to be a workshop and to not just a workshop, but also an academy as well. So I want to be able to like have my own location, not too big, but like small, where people can come to and to engage, to ask questions, to go through the book, and to equip, elevate, and to grow, deliver in any way God allow to happen. I'm all in for that. So for me to have my own location, not nothing really big, but the main thing I want to do is to go to different location when it comes to middle school, elementary, high school, and colleges. My target audience for the book, I'm not trying to limit anything, but if you are a guy and you more welcome to continue to listen, because I do have 17% of people listening on the podcast that's a male, but the rest of the percent is female. But if you are a guy that are listening to the podcast and want more information and want the book, you're more welcome. But my target audience right now for me to teach like face to face and is to go to teen mothers, high school and elementary after school program, and pretty much to develop a workshop and to help females. I'm not sure like how soon God will allow me to teach the male point of view, because it seems like I know more and learn on more quickly than the male part if they having issues and things when it comes to that, because I can tell like the male more open of sharing what they're dealing with, and I noticed the female is more as a it take them some time to actually open up. So my target audience is the female. That's where God's leading me, is to target tingle. I said tingle. Teen mothers, high school girls, middle school girls, and college girls. Those are my target audience, and to like go to different high school and after school program and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's the plan. That's the vision that God gave me. It have not happened yet, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up on it. I'm going to keep working on this book and just take step by step at a time. I'm not going to give too much information about the plan for the book, but that is the basic understanding to help you to understand like where things going when it comes to the book, and me putting a academy together, a school, workshop, and just like pretty much teaching. So yeah, but it all start with finishing this book, and that is the beginning process of it. And so I'm like super excited, and super excited for those that's listening, and I think I'm just rambling now. Yeah, so I'm super excited for those that's listening, and really allowing yourself to grow. And if you notice anything, since you've been listening, if you've been like listening to the podcast like consistent, and you know some things have been changing in your life, or things you have been more aware of, or maybe you have given your life to God, like please do not hesitate. Let me know. I enjoy by hearing feedback and testimony of people that reach out to me. So that encouraged me to continue to move forward and and all that amazing thing. So I'm gonna end this podcast. I'm pretty much sure you are tired of hearing my voice because it's been like 30 minutes now, and yeah. So you have an amazing day, and thank you so much for spending your time, your 30 minutes of your time sitting down or whatever you at in this world listening. So feel free to reach out if you have any question, comments, concern, and thank you so much.